Hello and welcome to DoubleDM. It's the 6th episode already. Can you believe this?
I can fucking not. Really, I
Oh,
can't.
yeah, I can't fathom this either. It's just insane. It started
hmm
as some sort of idea in our heads, and now we're recording the 6th episode. It's
Amazing.
crazy. Yeah. And today's episode shall be about the session 0 we so often talked about already.
hmm
So, just to get this out of the way, our classical weekly recap. What happened for you? Is there anything
There are two
noteworthy?
things.
Yeah.
First of all, obviously the people hearing this probably all or listening to this all know that, but I surpassed on Monday, this Monday on the 1st of March, 1K Twitter followers, and I genuinely still can't believe it. Really, I still think to myself, why would anyone even think me worthy of their timeline? But I've met so many amazing people, and I can't list them all here right now because then we would be talking for 2 hours only about those people, which is actually something I would like to do, but something we can't do with time.
Yeah. We're a
Though
little bit restricted in upload time.
I have met so many amazing people in the last. It's been only like 6 weeks at most, I think. It feels like an eternity already on Twitter for me. I have met so many amazing people. I have made new friendships that I genuinely think will last for the end of time.
That's good.
I would not say that. Well, you never know what happens, right? But I really don't want those friendships to end. It's just different. Like, when I met many of my friends that I still play TTRPG with every day, or at least weekly, those are my friends from high school. Those are my friends from middle school. Well, we don't have middle school in Germany, but I have friends that I've met in real life, and I have a connection to them that goes very deep. But with those new people, I have a completely different relationship that already goes so deep as well. And I have not even met those people. I like the first thought that came to my mind is I don't know how these people smell.
Oh, all right. That's a
I have
weird thing, but
I have hugged every one of my players at least once in my life. Like I have a physical connection to them. I could go over there and talk to them. I can meet them. I have a physical connection, you could say, to them. But to those people, I don't. But I so much want to hug those people right now. Like, it's incredible how much I want to meet those people, and that is why I'm actually so hyped about this get together, which is somewhat planned in our heads. Like, once the pandemic is over, once everyone can meet up, why don't we just do it? Was the question, and everyone was on board. Yes, we will do that because, I have I have met many people that I would consider close friends now, and I want to meet them, but they are all scattered around the globe.
it's
UK,
insane how
USA, Norway, Australia, Hungary.
all over. It's insane.
It's incredible.
And that's just something TTRPGs can do. Help you
Yes.
connect with people and deeply bond with them. I think Matt Mercer said that some of the closest friends he has now are the ones he played tabletop role playing games with, and the connection between those is just that deep because of that. Them playing role playing games.
Yeah, that's basically the biggest thing.
But
I'm
congratulations for that.
really at a loss for words right now. I cannot believe it. Like, really.
Yeah. Hey,
I just
it's
don't
an
know what to
awesome.
say. I would love to meet every single one of those friends I've met and just have a nice evening with them. Do something, play a TTRPG, do something else, video games, board games, whatever.
Go to a pub, whatever you like to do.
Yes, anything actually.
Yeah, but it's
Like I want to
not
do that
impossible.
with my real life. I will say real life friends. I want those to do those things too, but I have done those things with them before.
Yeah.
Though
You want to have your first with them
yes,
as well.
yes,
Yeah.
that's incredibly correct.
There are
It's
many firsts left to discover. Let's say it like that.
okay. We should move on. I think.
I
Before
think we
this
should.
dissolves into something else.
Yeah.
What happened for you? Like we've not really talked in the podcast sense for nearly 2 weeks now.
Yeah, that's correct.
So,
But-
what about you?
Nothing major, really. I just bought stuff for my new kitchen, which is going to get built during the week on from the 15th of March to the 21st.
Mm-hmm.
It's just will be a whole lot of chaos, and yeah, and a shit ton of money went into that, but new kitchen, so yay.
But you also love to cook, right?
Yeah, that's why I spent so much money on it. That's the whole reason I invested a good deal in a good oven and some burning burners, stovetops. Yeah,
Stovetops, yes.
yeah, and it will be a black kitchen with a light colored floor, like not exactly white, but maybe a light beige or something like that.
Oh, the beige gang is here.
Oh no, oh no, I've triggered you.
You have
Damn.
just triggered me. And you have also triggered Maps and Quests, the RPG Guild, Oathsworn RPG, DM Chronicles, Hamilton from Dragon's Duel, and Mecha the DM. They will all summon into this channel in like 5 seconds or something.
Congratulations, you're welcome. Yeah, but that's basically it. And of course, the Witcher one-shot we did
Oh yes, right. We did
last
your character
weekend.
for that.
Yeah, in the last episode, we did the character backstory for it.
I obviously DM'd again.
Yeah.
Well, it's totally fine because I made the offer of DMing, obviously.
Yeah.
So, how did you enjoy that one?
I enjoyed
Please
it
be
like
honest.
crazy. Yeah, I loved it. Sometimes it stretched a little, but I think I know why. Because I think you planned the adventure so everybody could have his spotlight time,
Yes.
basically. Like you should, because then nobody feels left out. And
Especially if you have a new player at your table, which we did.
exactly.
They should get a moment where they shine best.
Exactly, and that's why I think most of us more experienced players took a backseat on something on some things to let them do the stuff they wanted to do. And if nothing would come around or no ideas would come around, then I think we stepped in. So it stretched a little, but that's actually not that bad because we all waited to see what everybody would like to do, and if nothing would happen in quotation marks, we would try something ourselves. But in general, awesome stuff. I like the world, I like the encounters. The final boss, you could say, was tough, to say the least. Especially in our group constellation. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. How about you?
Oh,
Did you enjoy the DMing our group?
I would say yes. No, I loved it. I will you could say that I'm also looking through rose red glasses, because I also love the world. It's my favorite video game world of all time. It's my favorite video game of all time. There is nothing you can debate against. No other video game will ever come close to The Witcher. Period.
Actually, the one shot is the reason I started playing The Witcher again. Thanks a lot, by the way.
I still have to do that. I still need to finish Cyberpunk, but I'm so close to finishing it. I just finished all the gigs and scanners. The city is completely clean now. I just have to do side quests, the last 3 or so, and then the last main mission, and then I'm done. But I wanted to do everything else in the world and before, which I did now. And
very good.
But yeah, I love the Witcher world. I cannot play this game enough. It's even any game that comes close to that is okay to me. But the game, the TTRPG, has, in my opinion, not an inherent flaw, but a disadvantage, that the combat can drag on quite a bit. Because if you're fighting monsters, not only one is really useful, or two at least if you have magic. The problem being, that's exactly how the world works. It's okay. But the problem is, you have... Well, the biggest problem could probably be that we had 6 players. And 6 players in that system is... Which is why we... I wanted to do a mini campaign out of this one shot now. And I reduced the size to 3 players, which includes you, the Witcher player, and the player of the Bard. So I have everything covered. The combat aspect with a great combat skilled Witcher. I have you for magic, for anything knowledgeable about magic and using the magic in the fight.
Illusions, supporting magic sometimes. And
we have the Bard, who is for the social interactions.
King of social things.
King of social.
Or queen. Whatever.
Queen. Which is the 3 things you need in that game. And the problem is, with the other 3 players, we had basically 3 combat-focused, more fighters that... And well, I have not a problem with when a game wants you to roll more than 2 dice for one roll. You have the attack roll plus the damage, but you also have to roll if you where to hit. You have to roll certain benefits and disadvantages and all that, which is good if you do it correctly. There are systems that need you to roll before you actually hit something, like 5 times. Which is not good, but if you, after you know you've hit, you can look at how the damage is converted and calculated and all that, which is then okay in my opinion. Yeah, this is not a really campaign.
It really did not feel that unnatural to roll that many dice regarding just one attack, because it all made kind of sense why we need to allocate certain things about the attack with dice rolls.
Yes. And there's one small thing I still need to talk. Who does not... No, this is wrong. This is not a question. If there are people that do not know the check these out stream, they should check that out. You see what I did there?
Yeah. I actually have to check these out as well.
Yes,
I heard about them. I interacted with Maka and Lewis, and
they are amazing.
Those guys,
simply put, they are amazing. And if this episode comes out, which is this Sunday, there is still time before the next episode they stream on Tuesdays, which is from 22 CET or 10 p.m. CET till 1 a.m. CET for us from Germany. And they have their first guest, which is Hope.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yes, Hope is gonna be the first guest, and I'm honestly really hyped about that, because Hope and Marka are probably 2, if not the closest friends out of that whole group on Twitter and the Discord. They both are amazing. I love them to pieces. I could spend a whole day talking about how amazing they are. But yeah, those two interacting with each other is something I've always wanted to see. But this week, on Tuesday, yesterday for us, the 4th episode of Tales of Terra Eluno, I think is the name. No, it's not Tales. It's just Terra Eluno, I think. I don't know. I think I'm mixing something up from Chaotic, from Keenan as well, though. Basically,
I'll check that real quick.
Yes, you can. We were able to summon Wunkle Dunkle, which is a trickster god who basically runs a game show, you could say. It felt like that. And it happened 2 times. One time it was done by Chromeg, I think is the name. A gaming streamer. And then the second time was done by me. And the second time was basically a gust of wind in a 100-foot radius centered on where Wunkle Dunkle was summoned to knock everyone in a direction. That killed around 61 NPCs. So I have a body count of 61 NPCs, which is higher than all of the player characters in that campaign combined.
Oh no!
I am a bloodthirsty murderer.
Yeah, oh boy. Yeah.
I am the best. That's all I want to say about this.
I have a little fear about the mini campaign now, but well.
So, shall we go into the topic of today's episode?
I think we should.
Why don't you take it away this time?
Why I shouldn't, but I will do anyway. So, our topic today would be Session 0. So the first thing we would like to discuss is what is a Session 0 in general. So I think Session 0 is a planning session, nothing in-game, just out-of-game discussions about what everyone is comfortable with, what the setting is, some house rules and something like that. So just planning, characters, character discussions, rules discussions, and everything centered around the campaign, but not in the campaign itself. Mm-hmm. That would describe Session 0 for me, I think. Yes, to set some expectations, and yeah.
It's about setting expectations and tone of the game, in my opinion. It's in the most general sense. It's also, you could also use Session 0s to create characters. Mm-hmm. Especially with new players. I did that. I had 2 players that never played D&D really before. Which meant I walked them through character creation and what leveling up means and what they need to do and what they need to pay attention to, how D&D works, how the system works, what homebrew rules I'm introducing, obviously, into the world, of which I have. Mm-hmm. I have a ton of homebrew rules, I just realized a few days ago when I looked over them again, trying to find out if I maybe add something or even take something away. But yeah, I have a ton, and we would probably need to do an episode about homebrew rules in completely a different fashion, talking about which rules we have.
Yeah, and probably why we started them and what we like about them, and
yes,
we should definitely do that.
Okay.
So, what do you usually talk about in Session 0?
It's simple. Session 0 for me starts with introducing my players to the world. Mm-hmm. Like a simple introduction to the world, explaining to them what the general idea is, what we want to do in this world, what they are allowed to do and what not. Just a simple thing like describing, okay, we're playing on this continent is majored, the most common race is humans. There's not on every continent in my homebrew world like this. There are 2 continents for humans basically, and the rest are more inhabited by orcs, dragonborns, dwarves, and whatnot. But yeah, and this is then after I've introduced them to the world, I will introduce them to what kind of game we're playing. I will set some expectations, like saying this campaign will run probably from level 1 to level X, 20, 15, 9, 2, anything. Then I will talk about... What will I talk about? I should have thought about this before we started.
Yeah, but that's us, I guess.
Wait, I have this sheet. I think I can... Yes, I have this. So I start with a snippet, and then I ask my players a few questions about their characters, actually. After I've talked about what happens in the session. I talk about general things, like I said, what the world is about, what the campaign will be about, how long it will run, blah blah blah. Then I will talk about table etiquette, because in my opinion it's very important to set the rules for you do not look at your phone for 30 minutes at my table, because I don't want that. I want you to get every information you can. What do I expect of my players? Are drugs, alcohol okay? Because sometimes, obviously, when we are having longer sessions at night times or evening times, you could start drinking a beer or two, but I don't want you to get drunk at my table.
Yep, not to level of intoxication. That would be highly disruptive.
I am that kind of person that hates metagaming to some extent.
Yeah.
Like, I can understand if a PC, if the PCs don't, for a riddle or for a social interaction or something like that, for any kind of scene, don't talk in character and think about this strategically, what they should do. This is okay. This is not metagaming. This is just them thinking about stuff. And maybe they are making their plan as their characters while they are talking as players. But taking information that you do not have is something I will not allow you to do. If you do that at my table, I will just say no to your actions that result from that. Or at least I need an explanation why you would do it otherwise. Because if you know one of the other player characters is a thief and you want to let them be arrested by the guards, and you actually don't know that, then you can't go to the guards and say, hey, he is a thief, I know that. Well, your character probably could. Like, he could go there and say that, but
if the character would know it.
The character does not know it, and you can't just act on knowledge you don't have. I talk about murder hoboing. Is it okay if the PCs just walk around killing everything and solving everything with the easiest method? If they are allowed to talk about stuff, or are they just allowed to have fun with smashing things? Then I go into the tutorial section, where I explain what advantage, disadvantage is, how rolling works, and blah 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 blah. For new players, what's a spell casting, what is a fight. Then I give a more broader introduction to the world we are playing in. Then I go over my homebrew rules. Then I start with the character creation, at least if they want to do this in the session. And then I will do a quick, like a 1 hour or something session where they play something to get acquainted with rolling, combat, and stuff like that. And after that, I will ask them a few questions if they have any things they want to discuss, if I want to give them some feedback on what did go wrong or right in that session, what they should focus on to do for the upcoming campaign, and all that stuff. Yes, that is basically a full session 0 for me.
I think session 0, the first one, with a new group in a new world or setting, will take much longer than returning ones. If you have a returning group of players, you don't really have to go over house rules or homebrew rules in that much detail. You just mention, we are playing with that rule again, and everybody knows already what you're talking about. You don't have to explain it that much. Or world settings, if you're playing in the same world again, you don't have to mention everything about it or another time. So you're just saying, yeah, we just play in the world we are usually playing, or we played the last campaign. And yeah, that definitely shorten the time. But the first session 0, you should take your time with it and do it the right way, in quotation marks, if you want to say it like that. Just talk about everything you want to talk about. For me, some things that should be discussed in there are how often you're gonna play. Like, is there a set schedule, like every 2 weeks, every Sunday, or a general scheme, or just let's find a date for the next one a bit more nonchalant, if you want to say it like that. Then where you are going to play is a big part. The location, if you're going to do it online, and if you do it online, with which virtual tabletop, for example, or at which players' homes, or do you have a special location where you play? And that's something I like to discuss. And how long a session generally lasts. Like a rough setting for, I don't know, maybe 5 to 7 hours, something around that. If it takes longer, it takes longer. If it goes by faster, then it goes by faster. That's not a major problem, but that you have a set goal in mind about commitment. How much time you have to commit to that per time interval. And what type of game you want to play. Like horror, mystery, classic fantasy, monster slaying, more political intrigue, all these different campaign ideas that's brought into your mind.
What I actually do for that is if I have a TV series or a movie that encompasses really good what my campaign is about, I will refer my players to that movie and say they should all obviously watch it, because I enjoyed it so much that I have more or less not modeled the story, but modeled the campaign feeling after that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also good that my players then can find out what it's about, and then can they say, okay, yeah, we take this movie, but we add a lot more comedy to it, so that's not really too bad now. But obviously, if I have something I can refer them to for them to get a better feeling of this, I will refer them to it.
Mm-hmm. And another thing that just popped into my head is a discussion about more of an emphasis on combat or a role-playing aspect. What everybody likes to do more, or should it be an equal share? So if you had a really combat-heavy campaign the last time, maybe the players and you included want to play a more role-playing focused campaign. So that kind of guides the way for the setting and tone sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But it does not have to, if that's clear.
Yeah,
For example, a political intrigue is more most of the time not that combat heavy. So that
correct.
Kind of rule, or it shouldn't be, to say it. Yeah. Then maybe some sort of level of campaign difficulty, how difficult you want to make it for your players.
Oh, that's something I don't talk about, because I'm always making it hard on my players.
Yeah, but maybe in comparison to your other games, maybe. All right, I figured out you just rushed through my encounters. I think I will make some of them a bit more difficult. For example, maybe just as a quick disclaimer that they maybe cannot just solve everything with the most obvious way.
Yeah, but I'm
get
that
them
DM that
thinking.
does that by default. Maybe
Oh, all right, yeah.
encounters hard. My players hate me because I have killed one of my PCs recently, a few months actually back, Then also that same player had a new PC, a Kensei Monk, that has nearly died already. Like he was so close. He was, I think, 2 death saves failed, and then he got healed.
Ooh, that's close.
So we're really balancing on a knife's edge here, and I don't know if it's me or just the player being a dumb fuck.
Do I know the player?
Yes, you do.
All right.
You've played with him before. You've played Traveler to the West with him, and it's not the one you will also play Witcher with.
All right. Got it. Yeah.
So, then enlighten us. I want you to ask you this next question. Why should you run a session 0? Why should people do that?
Just to get everyone on the same page, I think. To have the general rules all out there and cleared. And so everybody can just get right into enjoying the game from the get-go, without having to discuss anything planning-wise during the first session. So it just can get right into the stuff that you want to talk about, that you want to play.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes the whole planning thing a little easier, and the pre-session talk a little more enjoyable, because you don't have to focus on rules that much anymore. You can just have a good time and then get into the session. That's the main reason I run session 0s.
Yes, I also, obviously, like you already said, to set a tone for the game, to get everyone on the same page. We want everyone feeling, especially with my very short game sessions, which are like a session 0 can, for one, break them up between the players. Not every player needs to be in the same session 0 with me. If I have the time and the dedication to the game, I will prepare 4 session 0s for every player. For the one campaign I'm DMing, I did the 2 experienced players got 1 each. They had 1 for 1 player. And the 2 newbies had a joint session 0, talking about their so I can get the new stuff in with them quicker.
And a good point in that is some questions one might have, the other might not think of. So if one new player asks a question that the other haven't thought of yet, but then thought about it and had the same question, you don't have to explain it twice, or in-game in session 1, for example. All right, yes. I forgot about that. If you
have new players at your table, like never played TTRPGs or never played the system at least, get them all together for a session 0, because it would be first of all it takes a lot of time away when they are all creating characters at the same time. They can talk about this. They can start thinking about their characters together, which already puts a mindset of group working into the player's mindsets, which is important for new players. For new players, I think you really need to get a mindset of that they have to work together to succeed. Because if they realize I have to work together, and the other part of the group wants to do this, I need to think about this. Can we do this? Ask questions. Hey, why do we want to do this? How do we do this? So having all your new players together, getting them on the same page at least, is the most important thing, because those new players will work together after having already created their characters together, knowing what the others can do and something like that. And it takes a lot of time from the DM, obviously, because you don't have to do 3 separate sessions of character creation, because you can all have them in one, and then you can say, okay, and now we come to hit points, and then you explain hit points once. And like you said, everyone has questions, then they can ask, and everyone gets the answers. But you don't have to do the initial explaining of what are hit points more than once.
Yeah.
You can take a lot of time away with that.
Yeah, it saves time, and you, as a new player, get answers to questions you didn't even have at that point. So then the next question is what should you prepare for a session 0 as a player? I would like to toss that one at you.
Oh, okay.
Because just to switch it up a bit, because
Yes.
you're the forever DM, the classic meme forever DM, if you want to say so.
I never get
So
to play. Like I
yeah.
have 2 campaigns I'm playing in, one which meets weekly on Tuesdays for a different game than D&D, and I have one where I'm playing a rogue swashbuckler, the most edgy one you can think of. So yes,
Yeah.
I have only played the pure stereotype of D&D. Yeah. Okay, what should a player prepare? Actually,
Or maybe let me rephrase that. What would you wish as a DM a player has prepared for session 0?
that's the thing.
Maybe that's a better one.
Have a character concept in mind. Not a character sheet, not stats, not a class, not a race, but a concept. I want to be a helper. I want to help people. I want to be a supporter. I want to be a fighter. I want to be a tank. Because you can be all those 3 things at once. A paladin.
Yeah.
You can help people, you can fight, you can tank, all that stuff. And I've had one player that wanted that concept. He wanted to help people, he wanted to be the tank, he wanted to be somewhat of a leader for the group, and I said paladin as the DM. You can play paladin if you want. He then looked at the paladin and said, yes, this is what I want. And then he came up with a character, a real character. The other one in that session was, I want to play someone that is crafty. I want to build stuff. I want to have unique solutions to problems. And I said, look at the artificer, for example, or the rogue. They both are pretty crafty with solutions.
Yeah.
Marcy, which was already on the show, decided for the artificer. So
the artificer is a great class. I love playing it.
It is, but I say the biggest thing you should have is somewhat an idea of what you want to play. As I said, you don't need to pick a race, you don't need to pick a class, you just need a general play type you think you will enjoy or do you want to play. That is all you need.
Some sort of concept, a broad roadmap of where you want to go with it.
Yes, a really broad roadmap.
And the finer details you can fill in later in the session 0 or after.
Also, prepare is something, or what you should bring to my session 0s is interest. Because if I, in a session 0, realize you are not interested in my game, I will not make this game interesting for you.
Yeah, I think I just
make this game interesting for the people that actually want to be interested in it.
Yeah, I think that would be a general thing. If you're not that interested in playing, then don't. So just play if you really want to do it, and if you say, yeah, I want to try it out, then be invested in it. So you that way you can definitely find out better if you really enjoy it or not.
And there's no shame in after a few sessions saying, hey, I do not enjoy this. Hey, I don't want to play anymore. Hey, XY.
Yeah, definitely not. But take the time, give it the dedication it deserves, because it takes time from the DM to craft the story, the world, and so much more than playing. It's so much more than just playing the game, because you have to control it, you have to plan it, you have to keep track of everything, and it's a huge time investment. It's no problem if you say, yeah, I don't enjoy it that much as I thought, or I don't want to play that, I don't want to play it anymore. It's not a big problem. Just invest in 1 or 2 sessions and then talk with your DM about it.
Yes.
And that's something a session 0 can actually help you find out if you...
Yes, if you are invested enough in playing the game, like I said, and don't have a concept yet, just this roadmap of themes you want to play, at. Those are exactly the best, because if you are invested enough, let me ramble about the classes, what they can do, and what would fit you or the concept you wanted, then you are already invested enough. The uninvested players just sit there, yeah, what class can I play? Yeah, you can play a rogue. Okay, I will do that. That is not engaging. You just... That is if you then play computer RPG, where you get a character and just play. You don't even have to make character creation. But if you are at my table, I want you to at least be invested in the game we're playing. You don't need to be invested in the same things like the others. If one of you wants to RP like a fucking madman, then they can do that. You don't have to. If you are more interested in combat, you are interested in combat. I will give you combat. But at least being invested in playing this game with people is all you need to play in my games, really. And you should, what we will get to when we're talking about the checklist, obviously. The thing is, I do that thing before I even start a session 0. So I can in the session 0 talk about the results of that thing, and then I can set the theme for the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like this sheet, the consent sheet we will talk about in a bit.
Yeah.
After, at least one last question to you.
Yeah.
What should a GM or a DM prepare for a session 0?
Yeah, well, first of all, obviously the world they are playing in a not that sort of ultra detailed way. Just a general setting, what race and class restrictions maybe there should be, general some notable locations maybe, if you have that already in your world building, but that's something that can come through different campaigns in the world, maybe, so they have an impact in the world. The house rule, the in and out of game house rules you want to have, you should have them at the ready for player questions or just explaining them outright. Just thoughts about the genre and the tone and type of game you want to play. Being able to discuss about in-game topics like metagaming, just make sure you're clear on your standpoints on those things. Like metagaming, disruptive topics, rules debates, mobile phone use. So just make sure you have a standpoint on those things. That's really the most important thing. And be helpful and as well invested in the game you want to play.
Mm-hmm.
As a DM, you should obviously be, but I think we should mention this just as a
be invested
general
in your
note.
own game.
Yeah.
Yes, obviously.
Yeah, of course, but if you're not invested, then don't master the game.
Write a book.
Yeah,
if you want to tell a story and are not invested in playing with other people, then write a fucking book.
Exactly.
Which is good. If you want to get a creative story out there, write a book. It's not something that, like, it's not bad. Like, you don't have to drag four or more people through something that they don't enjoy.
Exactly.
If you want to tell a story. Just make up 4 character sheets on D&D Beyond and use them as your characters.
Yep.
The story. Point. Period. So, there's nothing bad about writing a book.
Definitely not. I mean, it would be weird coming from 2 Germans about rambling about it being bad writing books. Because all of the
I can't write a book. This is why I play TTRPGs.
Yes, same here. I'm not that good formulating
I'm not good at
words.
Writing, which is why I use TTRPGs to tell stories.
Yeah, it's an awesome tool. Do you have anything to add to that about what a DM or GM should prepare?
Well, no. as I said, a DM should have, at least for my sessions, I always prepare somewhat of a little adventure. For one, it was I think it was 45 minutes prison break. We need to escape from prison before he got hanged the next day, so he did. And simple stuff. He sneaked around past a few guards. He knocked one out. He took his gear. He got himself the dagger and the thieves' tools he needed to get out. He got out. He ran away. I epilogued it till he went across the border, and after that, session 1 took off, basically. And I had that prepared, but that's around a 1 page of information. You have a prison. He has a cell. He needs to get out of there. He gets brought food every day with a spoon. And boom, he can use the spoon to make a tool. He can do X. He can do Y. And then he sneaks out and... Bleh.
It does not have to be that fleshed out because it's just a short interval snippet of sort
what the game's
of
gonna be,
adventure.
how rolling works again, all that stuff. So actually I don't have anything to add to that. It's, there are probably more things you can do, but I don't prep them. It could be that I have done session zeros for 2 of my campaigns now, and that's all I did. So I'm not fairly versed on the way of session zeros.
Same here. I just did my first session 0 last Wednesday.
Ooh.
Yeah. It went.
How did it went?
Incredibly well.
Oh.
It was for the mega big campaign thing with 7 players, and they were all so invested in this shit. It's crazy.
Okay.
We had a Zoom meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Someone got us a room there, and they all said, so we don't know how this works, so we're just gonna mute all ourselves, so you have the stage for all the time you want to talk about, and just go right ahead. And they just sat there and listened and asked questions in between, but that's insane.
I'm actually considering... sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. Continue.
Don't worry. They all had some character concept, some even had some sort of backstory already. That's because I encourage all my players to write some sort of backstory together to engage in role-playing and cooperative thinking from the get-go. Or at least some part of their backstory together. So everybody has their unique backstory, but some parts of the backstory should be combined how they met before, that it maybe not be that awkward to just have 7 people sitting in a tavern not knowing each other.
Yes.
Yeah,
the
but
classics.
Yeah.
I actually wanted, because you mentioned Zoom, I was looking for a way to switch away from Discord maybe for my sessions, because Discord is great for gaming, in my opinion. When I'm gaming, but I can see the flaws of having it for a TTRPG. At least it's free. But maybe we will switch to Skype even. I don't know. I don't know how Zoom works, and I actually don't want to know because I don't like Zoom.
Yeah, it's a little weird, I think.
The problem is, I don't know. Many people use Zoom for their online lectures, obviously, for university and college and stuff, and school. And they know Zoom from that. But I study computer science at the Freie Universität Berlin. We have our own service for that. Or at least not our own, but we have a special service just for that. Mm-hmm. So we don't use sites like Zoom that save image data on servers or something. We have servers that more or less delete those image data instantly. Oh, well, we don't know that, but I trust my university more than Zoom, a company I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So, Yeah,
Yeah.
I just never got around to Zoom because we never used it, and I don't like. I have to say, I am somewhat averted to even trying Zoom because I don't see the point in it. But maybe maybe I will skip to another way because Discord, in my opinion, is a great platform. But I don't know if I can use Discord for TTRPG sessions that perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
It could be just
Yeah.
the interface or anything. I just thought the vibe just feels off, you could say. I don't know how to better explain it in any way.
Yeah. But that's actually something we mentioned before in the where/how you want to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
So you can set on a program you want to use if you're playing online, being it Discord, Skype, Zoom, WebEx, own thing, whatever. Or that's something you should discuss as well.
Mm-hmm. And switching those is also not a problem. Again, everything you
Definitely
say
not.
in a session 0 could be redacted at some point because you made a switch. You and your players, at least when you want to switch something, make a new homebrew rule, add something to the list, take something away, change something about the game you're playing, then talk to your players, all of them at the same time. Let discuss this out. Maybe take 1 hour of your session time normally and use it to discuss something you want to discuss as the DM, because you can take off that time, and even if you want to, it will make the game maybe better. Maybe someone was feeling a little bit down after the last session because something happened that didn't want to happen, and if that player comes to you as the DM, or even you are the DM that felt a little bit down, then you as the DM have the possibility to just stop the game and talk with your players and reject anything that has happened in the session 0. Everything that happened in the session 0 is not chiseled in stone, as long as every member of the playing group is on the same page on that.
Yeah, it's just set in stone for the time that everyone is thinking it should be.
Yes.
So as long as everybody is okay with everything that went on in session 0, that is set. And as soon as something feels off, weird, not good, then you should and can change it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
actually, I want to give out a quick shout out to Dungeon Influence on Instagram. You can find them at Dungeon Influence. They made a session 0 checklist, which is pretty awesome in my opinion. It's a free PDF you can download, and it has some bullet points on what you should talk about in session 0 and stuff like that. Essentials, the world, DM style, in and out of game topics, and a bit more detail in those different points. Just one thing is missing, and that would be a consent sheet.
That's the last thing we wanted to talk about, because it's,
Yeah.
in my opinion, it's obviously the most important thing of a session 0, actually. So we should have talked about it at the beginning, but I thought we should take the break at the end for this, which is now the end. This is the last thing we will talk about today.
Yeah.
I normally give the consent sheets like a Google Docs survey to my players before we even have a session 0, just so I can get their feedback on what they want the game to be or what they are not okay with in the game before the game actually starts. Because the session 0 is a start to the game, and I don't want them after that still asking themselves, is this okay, is this not? I want this to be chiseled in stone in session 0, that everyone is on the same page about this. And if we want to change something on that consent list, we can, if we all talk about it, everyone. A quick reminder for podcasters that want to stream or podcast their games. Your players might be okay with some things, but the internet may be not. If you want to an actual play game of stuff, you should maybe completely put things off the table that your group might be okay with. Completely. No questions asked. Rather, I would
Talking
Rather, I
difficult
would
words.
wave a red flag than a green one at some point. But we should get into the consent sheet before talking about what not to do. So I will walk us through this, if this is okay.
Yeah, sure. Go right ahead.
Okay. Basically, it's first of all the GM, the players first set some stuff. Then you write on the planned game theme, and then you, if this game were a movie, its rating would be G, PG, PG-13, R, NC-17, and others. What the general okayness level would be. General for everyone, PG, parental guidance until 13, R, NC-17 or something. NC-17 is not under 17, I think. You're not allowed to watch the movie under 17.
I think so.
And PG-13 is only under parental guidance. You can watch it if you are below 13. Well, I don't know how this American works. We have a very simple one in Germany, which is the USK, which is just...
Yeah, or the FSK.
If you are above this age, you are allowed, and if you're below this age, your parents decide. Or you're not allowed at some point. Like, if it's the 18 and you're 6 years old, first of all, no parent would allow you to, but...
Exactly.
The USK or FSK say no.
Yeah, it's not forbidden to watch it at home if your parents allow it. So if you, as a child in Germany, saying you are 15 and want to watch a movie that is rated FSK 18, which would be R, I think. That means you cannot rent the movie or watch the movie in theaters if you're below 18 or under 18 years old. But if your parents rent the movie and you ask your parents, hey, may I watch this as well? And they say, yeah, sure, then no one can touch you. That's...
Your parents aren't touchable. Actually, because
exactly.
You're 15. You 15. Yeah. If you're 13, your parents would be the touchable ones or untouchable ones in this situation. But we don't want to get into German legislation or bureaucracy because then we would have 3 hours talking now.
Yeah, for just one paragraph of our law.
This consent sheet after that works very simple, which is just a traffic light system. You have green for bring it on, this is okay with me completely, you don't have to ask. Yellow is it's okay, maybe discuss it if it comes up in the session we're playing. I'm uncertain,
or maybe being okay under certain circumstances.
Yeah, don't go too hard on it, just mention it, say it happens and all that stuff. And red is it's a red line, you do not cross this or I'm out. If you do this consent sheet, keep a copy of it for yourself as a player, in my opinion. And if your DMs steps boundaries, you can just say, no, I'm out. I don't want this. Bye. Because they overstepped the line you did not want them to cross. There's no excuse for that. Obviously, you can talk with them if you think they just made a mistake and they deserve a second chance, but you can also just walk away and no one will hate you for it.
Yeah, I mean, actually everybody should deserve a second chance because slip-ups happen.
Yeah, obviously.
Especially as a DM, because there's so much fucking stuff you need to keep track of.
That's something like that. That you should judge your DM because they made a mistake, but you can still take the action of just walking away because you didn't want this to happen and it still happened and it made you feel uncomfortable and maybe even majorly uncomfortable. So there are basically 4 things on this list to talk about, which is horror, relationships for the 4th episode we did, social and cultural issues, and mental and physical health. And then there are additional topics which we would just leave blank here. So you can decide with your group if you need some additional things you need to talk about. For horror, it's about bugs, blood, demons, gore, harm to children or animals, rats and spiders and other fears. General fears and how to convey horror, at least. This is it's not the most important of the four. All of them are majorly important. I don't want to rank them. But for me, this one really stands out because if a player at my table has a chronic fear of... has a major fear of spiders, even mentioning a spider can trigger them. And not trigger them, but trigger that impulse of fear and fight or flight, and I don't want that.
That's not good.
The relationships, the fade to black, which is just the you have
relationships with that person.
Done. Explicit. If between PCs and NPCs is okay, if between PCs is okay, then you have the topic of sexual intercourse, fade to black, explicit, ding ding ding. Social and cultural issues, which are very important because there is stuff like, if a player has this in a red circle or in a red whatever that is, then I will never cross that line. With the horror and relationships, I will also not, obviously. I don't want to say that I would, but this is very important, and you should not fuck this up as a DM, because these are real topics in the real world that really are important and should not be themes if your players don't want them to.
Yeah.
Homophobia, racism, religion, sexism, or other cultural issues. And then there we have the problem of mental and physical health. Are people okay with genocide, freezing to death, paralysis, physical restraints, the police and police aggression, self-harm, sexual assault, torture? It's all stuff you need to think about, because maybe some of those things on this list, on all of these 4 lists, make for great stories. But you can only push a story that far as your players want to go. Even if you have a very amazing story about plague rats, if your players hate rats to bits and pieces, I will never do that, and you should never do that.
As a quick tip, if every player is comfortable with bugs, but everyone hates rats, just make it plague bugs. Done.
Obviously.
Just change the type of play conveyor method.
Yeah, but never cross red lines. Then you obviously, if for every player that fills out such a consent sheet, I would say, please say your DM should follow up with you on that, because there can always be something missing on that list. And a discussion with your DM about topics you're not okay with can reveal those topics that have not been talked about on this list, that were not on the list. That DM then can add that thing, first of all, to his every other list he needs, because the topic is important, because you don't like it, or like if you are missing a topic on that list, if you want something on there but it's not on there, talk to your DM and he will add it. Probably he should, or they should. And but always follow up with your DM. Please talk with them. We as DMs just want to understand what our players are comfortable with and what not. And if you don't tell us, we won't be able to judge. And then we have to make a decision. Do we still do that story or don't?
Yep.
That decision can fall either way. There is nothing. You could say always be more careful, obviously, but some DMs don't want to be careful. Some DMs want to have this amazing story. And if you did not tell them to, that is not okay with you, or explain to them why it is not okay, if you've crossed it at a yellow, then they won't be able to understand. Obviously, in every one of these episodes, it was always about communication, because these games, the TTRPGs, are about communications. Communication. You
it's
need
pure
to communicate. Do it properly, and everything will be fine.
I actually did the consent sheet during session 0 as more or less an open question. At the end, I said, please, everybody, write me a personal message about what you're comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with in any sort of way. So nobody had to be compromised in their view on what they are comfortable with and what not. Maybe I should have been more explicit with this sheet. But yeah, I basically did get a message from all 7 that everything would be okay. So I have just a green traffic light to go in every direction I like. But yeah, that's the way I did it in the first session 0 I ever did. But
even if you know all your players will be okay with everything on the list, which for my players is, well, not a given. I would say that some things on the list I am not okay with. I will never discuss some things like sexual assault.
Yeah.
I will never discuss that at my table. Maybe my players are okay with it. I'm not, so it's off the table. But with something else, like, let's talk about demons at the horror section. If all your... I know all my players will be okay with it. Still do this consent sheet. Just to be sure.
Yeah.
It's always important to be more careful. Be careful, make this consent sheet, and it will pay off.
Definitely. And for me, would be filling out this consent sheet would be nearly everything in green, as long as everybody is capable of determining what is in-game and what is out-of-game talking.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, social and cultural issues can be a major plot point in your adventures, campaigns, and stuff like that, as long as everybody is clear that racism, homophobia, sexism, religion issues, cultural issues are not a thing at your table, but in the game world, and everybody is fine with that. That's awesome. Because especially playing as beast races in my world setting, they are in the uncharted area of the world map. So they are always looked at with a lot of disgust, sometimes even. So there will be some sort of racist comments, maybe even, or at least stuff NPCs do say or act on. But we made sure everybody knows this is not an okay thing to do at the table. And in general, because one of my players will play a hobgoblin wizard, and most of the population is some sort of human. That is the broad majority, but in special places and different places, some other races are more prominent. So he will get some weird side looks. But saying that, out of game, that's not a thing anyone really thinks of, actually, in my kind of games. We all know that those things aren't okay to do, to say, to think even. So that's the point for me, knowing the difference between in-game and out-of-game on this consent sheet.
That's a very important thing, and it's very important for session zeros. Talk about what in-game and out-game feels like, and what is in-game may be okay, but not outside. No?
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Definitely.
So, I
Yeah,
think this brings us to the end.
yeah. All right, 1 hour 10 minutes already. Good. So just to conclude, a session 0 is a planning session. You should do it to clarify things, make it easier for yourself and the players, knowing rules, how dice rolls work, how you want to narrate the story, what kind of story you want to craft together, and what everybody is comfortable with playing and doing in and out of game.
Yes.
To summarize it really quickly and roughly.
The best tip or advice I can give people for session 0s is do them.
Yeah. Try it out and you will see the benefits of them.
You will reap the benefits for years to come.
Definitely.
Believe me. For the campaigns I have run without session 0s and with session 0s, there's a big difference, actually.
Yeah, I will
impactful. It's very impactful.
I will have a direct comparison for this because one group it's all in the same world. One group I did not have a session 0 with because I played with them many times, so I know what they're comfortable with, and they all know the rules I'm gonna use. So I thought, I don't need that. And then I have this big 7-man people, whatever group, which I never played before. So I thought, that would be the perfect thing to do a session 0 for. And yeah, I will definitely start using a session 0 for every campaign after this one. Even if all of my players know what type of rules we are using already. Yeah, and so just to close this off, follow us on Instagram at DoubleDM at Twitter, the same thing. Follow at Master Overspace, is it? At Twitter. Maybe we can give him even 2K. I know, ambitious, but
I'm already
let's aim for the stars.
60, I think.
Yeah, so
this is amazing. I don't know what to say. I still don't know.
As always, feedback is more than encouraged and welcome. And see you on the next one. Have a nice day.
I love you. Bye.
Bye.